I'm Zvi Weiss, and it is my pleasure today to engage in conversation Lucy Aharish. Thank you very much. Good to have you here this evening, and we'll get right to the point. So my first question to you today is, how is it that you ended up growing up as the only Muslim family living in Dimona, a Jewish development town? What was that like?
Okay, so I always here it is. I always like to amuse with the idea that my father was looking for a certain job in a certain facility, but that according to foreign press has certain things that we are not allowed to talk about. He was looking for a job and he wasn't accepted, and then, but this is a joke. He got a job at Eilat at the beginning, and then just one thing led to another. He started working in Eilat for a whole year, and then he got an opportunity to have a job in Dimona with a house and good salary and a car, something that Israel is not offering right now to people who are coming to work in the south of Israel. And he said, okay, I will stay there for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years max. And one thing led to another, and for the last 44 years, he has been living in Dimona. From all the places in Israel, he's been living in Dimona. Yeah.
What was it like growing up there?
Wow. Growing up in Dimona is one heck of an experience. I think looking back, I don't imagine myself growing up someplace else. There is something when you grow up in small places, such as Dimona, which is a small town in the periphery of Israel, that is... I remember the first time that I got to Channel 10 when I started my career in journalism, and I got there, and one of the anchors there, I don't know if you know his name, is Guy Zohar. He came and he told me, wow, you are Arab, you're Muslim, you're a woman, and you're coming from Dimona. So it's like you're all the don't do in one woman. Now, the only thing that is left is that you will be a lesbian, and then you will just break all the glass ceilings in the world. So no, and for my mom's luck, I'm not lesbian yet, but yes, it's when you're coming from this kind, like growing up as the only Muslim Arab family in Dimona, which is a semi-secular town, more right-wing oriented. It's not easy, especially when you're. I remember that that my mom took me for a conversation the day before I went to the first grade, and she told me, Lucy, I was, 5, five and a half, something like that. And she told me, Lucy, I want you to be always proud with the fact that you are Muslim, that you are Arab, and that you're Israeli, and that you're a woman. Now, for me, it's like, Mom, what do you want? So, but my mom said that I have to be proud, so I will be proud. So I went to the first day of school, and the teacher is asking, what's your name, what's your name, what's your name, what's your name, what's your name? And I was like, oh. And she's like, yes, I'm Lucy, and I am Arab, and I'm Muslim, and I'm Israeli, and I'm proud. Now the teacher looked at me like with a, okay. You cute girl. Okay, so I said this at the beginning of every class, the first class, the second class, the third class, the first day, the second day. The third day, I started getting beaten up, but really beaten up. Like torn books, torn notebooks, really bad case like you're seeing in the movies when you're getting back to school, but getting back from school, all crying and why people are treating me like that. And I didn't understand why people were treating me like that, because I said to myself, it's not clear. It's like they don't know me, they don't know who I am. And after a few days, I started understanding. I started understanding that I was the different girl. There was the fat boy, the girl with the braces, the guy with the glasses, and there was the Arab girl. And I remember that I used to say that kids are mean, but kids are not mean. We are educating kids to be mean. We are educating kids to hate. We are educating kids to see the difference in people. You know, none of the kids, I cannot imagine any baby that is getting out of his mom, like is being born, and the first thing that he thinks is, I hate Jews, or I hate Arabs, or I hate Muslims. I think that this is something that we are educating our kids to hate. And yes, so growing up, it was challenging as the only Muslim girl in Dimona, but it was, if you will ask me today, do you replace your life, or would you like to live in Nazareth, where my parents are originally from? Not in a million years. Because I don't think that if I didn't have all these experiences that I experienced, and the beaten up and being beaten up and experiencing racism in school, and seeing evil from both sides, I don't think that it would have made me the person that I am today. So definitely, definitely I'm blessed for growing up in this small town with a certain facility that we're not allowed to speak about.
Absolutely, it's great. In the world I come from, we'd say you have quite the growth mindset. So I was watching a recent episode of your show, a month ago or so, called Sichat Hayom, where you were sitting with your guest, Likud Knesset member Dudi Amsalem, and he went on a rant about the Falash Amora, those left in Ethiopia whose siblings are in Israel serving the army, etc., and they're not allowed to immigrate to Israel because their Judaism is in question. And there you were sitting there, an equal partner at the table, supporting what he's saying, supporting the aliyah of more Jews to the country. How much of this is Lucy Aharish sitting there herself, and how much of this is Lucy Aharish playing the role of a moderator on an Israeli news show in Hebrew that has an audience that is primarily Jewish?
Although my bio says that I'm also an actress, what you see on TV, this is what you get. My mom is always begging me to shut up. She's always telling me, Lucy, please, I beg you, just shut up. Just, you don't have to pay your opinion and to say whatever you're thinking each and every time. And I really sometimes try to shut my mouth. I try not to say anything. I try to sit aside only to ask the questions I can't. I can because I don't think that the role of a journalist is to present things to the viewers. I don't think that the viewers are stupid. I don't think that the people who are sitting at home don't understand or are not coming with their backgrounds to see us. And one day I remember that I used to say that we as journalists should aspire to be objective. We cannot be objective. As a journalist, you cannot be objective. As a journalist, you are coming with your background. You're coming with things that you're going through. You're coming with things that you're passing in your life, with your own experience, and with that, you are going on screen, especially in Israel. In Israel, everything is emotional. Everything is coming from here. You're saying good morning. Like sometimes it's like when I'm like saying something about the prime minister or saying something about the government, or I can even say that today's weather is bad, the first reaction that I will get from certain people is, what? The weather in Syria is better? It's like, it's no matter what I say, it's like, even if I will say, oh, the cheesecake is amazing, what, the cheesecake in Gaza is better? It's like, we're emotional. Everything for us, it's either black or white. Everything is coming from here, from the experiences that we're going through. So being objective, this is lying to the people who are watching you. I cannot be objective, but my goal is to be fair. As a journalist, I have to be fair. As a journalist, I have to sit down and ask myself, well, what would have happened if, for example, you were Jewish right now and you were going through this, and that? And on the other side, what would have happened if you would have been a refugee or a Palestinian living in a refugee camp? What would you think about this, and that? You cannot sit on TV and try to make life better for the viewers. It doesn't work. And the camera, you know, in cinema, I remember in one of the acting classes that I took, we had a Russian teacher. And she told me once, listen, if you're sitting in the theater and you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable and you're starting to move in an uncomfortable way in your chair, it means that the actor is not doing their job right. And it's true. When the camera is here, you cannot lie. You cannot lie to the viewers. I don't see any, when you're seeing me worrying about the Palashmura and why the state of Israel is not doing anything to bring these people back to Israel, for me it's important. Because I know how the state of Israel is acting towards the Ethiopian community inside Israel. And I don't believe that the state of Israel, the Jewish state of Israel, can allow itself to be racist against its own people. You know, I'm always saying, you know what, just keep the Arab issue aside. I remember in one of before the last, I think the last elections, I was sitting in a panel in Tel Aviv, and on my right side there was sitting somebody from the right, and on my left side there was somebody from the left, and there was the moderator, and they were yelling and screaming at each other. Fascist, Nazi, two Jewish people, yeah? Two Jewish men. Fascist, Nazi, traitor, you should not be here, you should go away, you should... And I was like, okay. And the moderator is asking me, Lucy, what do you think? And I was like, well, two Jewish people just called one another fascist and Nazi. And you people think that you have problem with Arabs and Muslims? Oh, first you need to handle your own issues and then start handling your problems with the Arabs. So when I'm looking at the Israeli society, I know that I'm looking at the Israeli society from outside. I have the, let's say, the plus to sit on a fence and look what is happening inside the Israeli society. And when I see racism, when I see a Jewish person being racist towards another Jewish person, this is something that I cannot understand. And me, as a minority living in Israel, I cannot accept. I cannot understand how come the Jewish people who were massacred and murdered in the Holocaust, in World War II, how come these people and the Jewish people are going to the Jewish land, reaching to their homeland, and after almost 70 years, they are allowing themselves to be racist against their own people. And about what? Because they are being racist towards someone that his color is different? This is something that I cannot digest. I cannot accept this as an Arab, as Muslim, as a minority Israeli living in Israel. I cannot accept the fact that a Jewish person is being racist towards somebody else. I cannot accept that.
So, Lucy, I'm wondering though, I mean, I'm hearing kind of two different things from you. Maybe you'll correct me. I'm hearing from you on the one hand that you are yourself. On the other hand, right, you're Lucy. On the other hand, I'm hearing from you that you're an outsider and that when you're in the seat as a broadcaster, as a journalist, etc., that you're taking that objective.
Not objective. I cannot be objective. I told you. I cannot be objective. It's impossible to be objective. I'm trying to be fair. Because of the issue, for example, of the Polish Mora, of the Ethiopian community, I'm going through this in the Israeli society. I know what it is to be treated in a racist way. I know, this is why it's driving me crazy, how come the Israeli Arabs are not collaborating hand in hand with the Ethiopian community to fight against racism. I cannot understand why these two societies are not working together. Because, you know, I can definitely tell you as a person, as an Arab woman, a Muslim Arab woman in Israel, that the situation and the racism towards the Ethiopian community is much, much worse than the racism against the Israeli Arab community. Much worse. And as a person who is sitting in this chair, I cannot shut up. It's like I cannot shut up when I am seeing all the wave of terror and sitting aside and not saying anything. I remember that I was here in Washington and I was in a tour and I saw, it was the beginning of the wave of terror, and I saw, you know, like music coming out of coffee houses and blues and soul music, and I was getting to my phone like pushes from all the websites, like another stabbing, another stabbing, another stabbing, another stabbing, and I said to myself, this is not normal. This is not normal that people are sitting here drinking coffee, which is normal, and in Israel, I'm receiving every half an hour and some kind of a news about a new stabbing. I remember just before I got on the plane, my mom begged me. She told me, I know that you're going back tomorrow to your show. Shut up. I don't want to hear you saying anything about this, because I got a lot of threats. I got a lot of death threats because I paid my opinion, because I cannot just stay aside and not say anything. And the next day, I was listening and we were talking about this, and I tried to stay aside. I tried to just listen to people and ask the questions, and I couldn't. And it got to a point where I exploded. I exploded because I am also a citizen of the state of Israel. I'm not only an anchor, I'm not only a journalist, I'm living this. We are living this in Israel. It's like when I'm here and I'm giving lectures, I'm explaining to people that you cannot judge what is happening in Israel if you're not living what is happening in Israel. If you are not living on a daily basis, the terror attacks, the racism, the differences, every single thing that we are experiencing in Israel, you are not allowed to pay any opinion about it. And you are definitely not allowed to judge us. And for me, you know, yes, I cannot, what you see is what you get.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question in terms of seeing you and getting you.
Yeah.
So you were invited to come to this conference, the topic of which is Zionism from the perspective of Israelis and of Americans. You, as an Israeli Arab, what's your relationship with Zionism?
I'm your gatekeeper. You know, I just started talking and I told you that I cannot understand how come a Jewish man or a woman are being racist towards another Jewish man or a woman. And unfortunately, right now in Israel, the situation is that we are talking all along every day about racism. Mizrahi Jews against Ashkenazi Jews, Jewish people against white against black, Orthodox against secular, Israeli Arabs against Israeli Jews and vice versa, Israelis against Palestinians. Everything is pro and against. And for me, there is, I see this, and I used to say that, you know, you have a problem with the word Zionism. The problem is that somebody managed to make a very bad PR for this word. Because today Zionism in one way or another is being, you can translate it to the occupier, the one that took, the one that stole, the one that... And when people ask me, what is Zionism for you? Zionism for me is loving your country, is loving the people that are living in your country, is wanting your country to be better, is aspiring for your country to be or lagoim. And when people are saying goyim, when Jewish people are saying goyim, they're putting me into the goyim. When I'm saying goyim, I'm putting everybody who are outside of Israel. Because I want my country to be an example for everybody else. And right now, we are trying, we're doing some experiments with doing something to be an example for. So Zionism for me is loving my country. Zionism for me is not the bad publicity that it got. I know that history may disagree, but I think that we can create our own future, and we can create and make history to stay in history and not repeat itself. So if I'm coming back and I'm telling you that I am the gatekeeper, yes. For me, it's very important that, you know, people are asking me, can this country be Jewish and democratic? It has to be Jewish and democratic. It cannot not be Jewish and democratic. Because the day that the Jewish people will forget what the Jewish people went through, this is the day that Israel will stop being democratic. So it has to be Jewish and democratic because this, I don't see somebody else who can understand better the concept of being democratic than the Jewish people, who can teach the world how to be democratic, who can show the world how democracy should look like, better than the Jewish people. So yes, this country should be Jewish and democratic, because what is happening right now in the Israeli society, it seems that we are in a process that we are forgetting. We are forgetting who we are. We are forgetting what we are. We are forgetting why we are there. We're forgetting. So there is, for me, a big, I'm really worried that this, I'm afraid to use the term process, because the last person who used the term process in Israel ended up in a big big balagan, like we're saying. But I think that there is this very dangerous path that Israelis are taking. And this is a path of hate that for us Israelis is much easier to take it than to take the path of understanding and remembering, and not remembering the Holocaust in speeches. We love to put the Holocaust in speeches. We love to speak about the Holocaust. We love to show the world. I studied in Jewish schools. I studied in the Jewish history. I know what it is to remember and never forget. So how come the Jewish people are forgetting so fast?
All right, well, let me ask you another question that's somewhat related. So here in the San Francisco Bay Area, we had a quarterback of our football team who refuses to stand up for the national anthem for political reasons. As the head of a Jewish day school, we study Hatikva, and one of the questions that we always debate is Hatikva really a national anthem that is representative of the population of the country? I will ask you the question, what's your feeling towards Hatikva?
Obviously, I cannot sing Hatikva. In one of the AIPAC conventions that I participated in, I came to Los Angeles. And I remember that I stood behind the scenes, and it was like a big room filled with 1,500 people. And it started with the American anthem, and everybody stood up, put their right hand on their heart, and they sang the American anthem. And of course, I was standing to give respect. And then there was Hatikva. I stood also there to give respect, and everybody sang Hatikva. And I went on stage, and I realized that I came all the way from Israel. Me, the Muslim Arab woman, came all the way from Israel. And I said this to the crowd. To Los Angeles to speak about Israel and the benefit of Israel. And all the audience had 2 anthem songs to stand and sing, and I don't even have one. And for me, it felt very weird. It felt strange to see that people who are living here in the United States have two, and I don't have even one. But I don't think that this is the problem of Israeli Arabs in Israel. Not the anthem and not the flag. I don't need a flag or an anthem to feel that I am part of Israel. I don't need symbols to make me feel that I am part of my country, because it is my country, and I love my country. And for me, I need other things to make me feel that I'm part of my country. And it's starting with getting equal rights in Israel and fighting for pluralistic ideas and pluralistic views and equality in Israeli society. I think that the day, because you will ask a lot of Israeli Arabs or Israeli Palestinians or Palestinians who are living in Israel, just define it the way that you want.
That's another question.
Yes, that's another question. But I think that for a lot of people, for them, it's the first thing that they will tell you, oh, the anthem, oh, the flag, oh. It's not about this. It's not about this. It's about something else. It's about the fact that we are not integrating inside the Israeli society. It's about the fact that And it's also like our fault. It's also the Israeli Arab fault. It's very, very convenient for us to sit down and say, it's your fault. It's the Jewish people's fault. Because it's very nice to sit on on a couch and start crying. And crying about how bad the situation is, how everybody did everything against us, how everybody did everything for us and on us and whatever, and stole from us and took from us. And it's very, very easy not to get up from the couch and start doing, and actually start integrating, and start getting into the society and doing something in the society that you're living in. See what is happening in Europe, for example. Integration is a key. France right now is in shock from what is happening. How come these things are happening when 15 years ago they had huge signs with riots and people going out in the streets and demonstrations coming from the suburbs of Paris, giving these huge signs of people who are not integrating, of people who the French people didn't allow them to integrate into the French society. And look what is happening 15 years later. France is in shock. You should not be in shock. And integration, and this is something that I'm saying also in the Israeli Arab society, is an important thing. You want to integrate, you need to know the language. Imagine that I would have come here and I would have stood and sit right here in front of you and I would have spoken in Hebrew. And you would do this interview in Hebrew. Do you think that half of the people who are sitting here will stay here? No. Half of them will eventually get up. They will say, okay, this is boring. Okay, I cannot listen to both languages and I need to understand and I need somebody to speak my language. So most of the Israelis today, Israeli Jewish people today, don't speak Arabic. And most of the Israeli Arabs only start speaking or studying Hebrew only from the 5th grade. And it gets to a point where Israeli Arabs understand every word that they're hearing, but they don't understand the subtext. And you can, for example, tell somebody, oh, shut up. It's like, when you're saying, shut up, you're kidding. If you will tell this to somebody who doesn't understand the subtext of the language, and it happened to me all the time, he will actually think that you're telling him, shut up. Israeli Arabs don't speak Hebrew from the 1st grade. And when you don't understand the language, you don't understand the music. When you don't understand the music, you don't understand the subtext. Imagine yourself sitting, one of the AP reporters said something very interesting. You see a lot of Middle East analysts who are sitting in Fox News, CNN, BBC, coming and giving you analysis of what is happening in the Middle East. Now they're coming to Israel or to the Middle East, and they don't speak one word of Hebrew or Arabic. But they are sitting in the best studios in the United States giving you analysis about what is happening in the Middle East. Now you try to imagine that I will be sitting in an Israeli studio or in an Arabic studio, and I will be giving some analysis about what is happening in the United States without even speaking one word of English. This is something that you cannot even accept because you will say, okay, he doesn't even understand our language. How come he's coming and giving us a lecture about or analysis about what and how we're living?
So Lucy, I want to ask you a question as an educator again. So do you feel that having multiple education systems in Israel is a mistake? Would you advocate
Huge
that
mistake.
there be one?
Do you know how many education systems we have in Israel?
5? I don't know. What is it?
You have the Orthodox one, you have the Arab one, the Muslim one, you have the Christian private one, you have the public one, you have the semi-religion one, and you have at least 3 more. This is not normal. And the bigger the amount of education systems that you have in Israel, the bigger the people, and you will see the differences in Israeli society. And you will see the gaps in Israeli society. Each group is going to its school. You won't see a lot of, for example, in the Arab and Jewish community, you won't see a lot of schools that are studying people who are going to the first grade, Arabs and Jewish people who are going to the first grade and studying together. You don't see it. Most of the Arabs and Jewish are meeting one another for the first time in the university. This is not normal. When 20% of the society is living in Israel, 20% of the society is Arab, how come they are only meeting one another when they are 18? Which stereotypes you want to start changing if they haven't met? You know, it's amazing. It's like, I get this all the time. Oh, are you? The question is amazing because people are asking me, so you are an Arab, or you are a Christian Arab? Do you understand how much racism there is in this question? It's like Arab is the Muslim Arab. He is like the less educated, the not so sophisticated, and the Christian Arab is the Arab that we can live with. Is the Arab that is like went to the universities, he's dressing in a nice way. And this just, it's like only to say Arab, it's like in Hebrew we're saying at Araviya, or at Araviya Notzriya. And this question says it all. It says everything.
But what about, asking the Arab population of Israel to be part of an Israeli Jewish, would you envision this education system being Jewish in particular? Or like what would be a unified school system?
A school that you will see in the first grade the same amount of Jewish and Arab, or at least the same amount of percentage that they are in the society.
So like some of those experimental schools that exist right now in Israel.
And I don't see that, and I don't understand how do you want to understand something about the Orthodox Jewish schools or society or the way that they're living if they are living in their own world? They're living in their own systems. They're living in their own schools.
So, Lucy, do you sometimes feel like you're a freak circus act being paraded around the world right now as the one Arab Israeli who's on board with a version of the Israeli narrative? How representative is your voice of the voice of Arab Israelis?
Sometimes. All the time. I think it's very representative, but I think that the only problem is, which for me is not a problem, is that I have this. I have a microphone. I have a microphone, I can yell, I can scream, I can say and get the dirty laundry out. And it's not easy to take out the dirty laundry from your own society. Nobody wants to see their own dirty laundry outside. Nobody wants to hear that the Israeli Arab community, nobody from the Israeli Arab community wants to hear that we as an Arab community not doing enough also to integrate into the Israeli society. That we are not doing our best to actually be part of this country. And I'm not saying that there are no forces in the Israeli society that are coming and telling you, you are not part of it. There are a lot of forces, a lot of people that are coming and saying, Arabs are not part of what is happening here in Israel. But instead of, going and taking your head down of racist people, and we should be raising our heads up, and we should start doing something for ourselves. It's not possible that the Israeli Arab community in Israel is still dealing with honor killing. It's not normal. It's not normal that in 2016 women are being murdered in Israel only because they decided to marry the person that they love, or because they decided to go out to work or to study or to live by themselves. This is something not normal. It's not normal that in 2016 I can hear some leaders in the Arab society saying, oh, we don't have gay people. Muslims don't have gay people. This is being either stupid or idiot. I cannot sit on the side and say to myself, okay, everybody are afraid to talk. A lot of people are afraid to speak out and say, okay, this is wrong. But I remember that in Operation Protective Edge, there was this video. I believe that you know her. Her name is Brigitte Gabriel. She gave a lecture in one of the universities. She sat down with the board and she spoke about Benghazi and what happened in the United States. And there was this Muslim girl that went up and told her, but why you are generalizing all the Muslims in the world? Why you are generalizing? Because the peaceful majority of Muslims are not terrorists. And she looked at her and she told her in the video, oh, I was waiting for your question. And then she started giving her a recap of history about how history is showing that in Nazi Germany, for example, the peaceful majority of the Germans didn't want to murder Jews, but they were irrelevant. In South Africa, in China, in South America, the peaceful majority didn't want to kill people, but they were irrelevant. And I'm looking at our societies right now, and I'm seeing an irrelevant society. We are irrelevant in our own countries. And I refuse to be irrelevant. I refuse to sit down and watch somebody who's talking about the rights of the Ethiopians and just shut up, because I will say, okay, it got nothing to do with me. I refuse to sit down and see somebody who is talking about racism against Muslims or against Jews and say, okay, you know what? It got nothing to do with me, because I cannot allow that history will repeat itself. And I don't want that history will repeat itself, and I refuse to be irrelevant. So for me, when I see what is happening, for example, right now in the United States, maybe this guy this football player that decided that he is not singing the anthem because, I don't know, he feels that the words in the anthem are not reflecting what is happening in the American society. Well, his situation is better than mine. At least he has an anthem. He doesn't want to sing it. But, look what is happening in your own country. Look inside your own country. The United States of America is facing maybe one of the most interesting election campaigns that I ever saw. Like, you are standing between a really, really tough decision. And I can understand this. From one hand, you have somebody who most of the people are, I cannot decide because I'm not American, so I got nothing to do with that. But some of the people are saying that she's not reliable enough. And from the other side, there's this guy that he's the bully of the class. And the bully of the class is saying, you know what, just shut up. Everybody's wrong. I am going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to tell you right now what you didn't tell to your friends or what you said in secret to your friends, but you were too ashamed to say. What is happening right now, that some of the masks in the American society are going down. And the question is going back to the people. Is going back to the people of the United States. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to decide to do about it? And I think that at the end of the day, these, you know, a lot of the people are saying, oh, no way Donald Trump will be elected. No way. No way it will happen. Eventually, something will, we are smarter than that. But the people who are saying that no way that Donald Trump will be elected, or no way that Hillary Clinton will be elected, are the people who are deciding to just sit back and say, okay, somebody else will do the job for me. I refuse to somebody else will do the job for me. I want a change. I'm going out and I'm doing a change. If I want something to be different, I'm going out and I'm doing something that in order it will be different. And I'm making the lives of a lot of people in our government, left and right, impossible.
I love it. All right. I have a quick question, and then I'll take a couple from the audience as well. In the Arab world, I imagine you might not have many fans. Is that a safe assumption, and how does that make you feel?
After I was giving the honor to light the torch in the Israeli Independence Day, there were a lot of pieces that were published in the Arab world. Actually, I have to say that in some of the pieces in Al Jazeera and in Al Arabiya, the comments were pretty good. It's like, I was really surprised. Like, most of the people said, okay, what do you want from her? She's a citizen of the state of Israel. So, okay, they gave her this honor, sababa. In our language, sababa. The biggest amount of criticism that I received was from the Israeli Arab Society. The Israeli Arab Society made my life impossible for this honor that I got. For me, lighting the torch in the Independence Day was something huge. It's like the Super Bowl. You need to understand, it's one of the biggest events in Israel. And for me, it was wow. And I remember that I was supposed to light the torch in April, I think it was. And a month before, we had the elections. And I remember that the night of the election, I was supposed to go on air for 5 hours. And 2 hours before, the Prime Minister went with this amazing video saying that the Arabs are going on buses to vote. I remember watching this video like 5 times. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was surreal. The video was surreal. It's like seeing the Prime Minister, behind him the map of Saudi Arabia. The Arabs are going on buses to vote. The government of the right wing is in danger. Go and vote. It's like living in a movie, really. It's amazing. And I remember that some of the people that were working with me, some of the Arab people that were working with me, my colleagues, came and told me that day, Lucy, how in the name of God you are going to go on that stage and say the phrase, the sentence for the glory of the state of Israel, when the Prime Minister just said that you are not part of this state. He said literally that you are the enemy, and you going to vote is not a legitimate thing. And I have to tell you that throughout the process, and since the day that I got the phone call that I'm going to light the torch, which was one of the happiest days of my life, I didn't even rethink it once until that day. And I asked myself how in the name of God I'm going to go on that stage and say for the glory of the state of Israel when my prime minister, and whether I like it or not, he is my prime minister. He's not somebody else's prime minister. He's mine. He's not only the Jewish people prime minister, he is the Israeli prime minister. And my prime minister just said, in other words, that I am the enemy. And I remember that I remembered my best friend. When I was in high school, I used to get into school, and every day there was a graffiti on the wall. Lucy, filthy Arab, get out of here. We don't want Arabs in our school. We don't want Muslims in our school. And for months and months and months, these graffitis just appeared. And we were looking in the school who the person that wrote them. One day my mom told me, Lucy, maybe it's your best friend. And I told her, Mom, no way. It's like, what are you talking about? My best friend. She's like, we have like sleeping overs. It's like, and you know, you moms have this tendency to put things into our minds, and it sticks. It just stays there. So I went one day, and I had a history exam. And she went out, and she finished the exam. She begged to get out of the class. And because I was an investigative journalist back then, I saw her getting out with like this thick pen. She went outside, and I finished the exam and went after her. And when I got after months, when I got to the bathroom, I saw her writing, Lucy, filthy Arab, my best friend. And I remember that I went I didn't say anything, and I went back to class and I stopped speaking with her. And I remember that the manager of the principal of the school and the vice principal of the school always looked, who is this person? 2 weeks after, the vice principal of the school took me for a conversation, and he told me, Lucy, we have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we found out who is the person who's writing these things on the wall. The second thing is, the bad news are that it's your best friend. And then the principal of the school, who is one of the Ashatid parliament members right now, told me, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to kick her out of school? Do you want me to take her out? What do you want me to do? Just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. And I told him, no. I want her to stay in school. And I want her to face me each and every day. And I want her to face her best friend and what she's done each and every day, and to see my face each and every day. So when I decided to go on that stage that day, when I remembered my best friend, part of this was to go on that stage with all the pride that I'm feeling towards this country and pride that I'm feeling of being Israeli, and to stand up in front of the Prime Minister and to tell him in a certain way, I am not a victim. I am not apologizing for who I am. I'm not apologizing for the fact that I'm Muslim. I'm not apologizing for the fact that I'm Arab. I'm not apologizing for the fact that I am Israeli. And I'm not a victim. I'm not your victim, and I'm not my best friend's victim, and I'm not the victim of the Muslim society, and I'm not a victim of this government. I am not a victim. I am part of this country, whether you like it or not. And you are my prime minister, whether you like it or not.
Thank you, Lucy. There's a question.
Two things. First of all, there's a book called and improbable friendship. The remarkable lives of Israeli Ruth Dayan, that's the wife of Moshe Dayan, and Palestinian Ramona Tawil, she's the mother-in-law of Arafat. They were friends for more than 30 years, locating and supporting women mostly who would do handicrafts to make money for their families. And what I just want to give you 5 words that will empower you, not as a gatekeeper, but as somebody who can actually do something, and that is to say to people, what are you afraid of? Ask. When the people actually really understand what they are each afraid of, then through economic partnerships, problems can be solved.
I think people are afraid of something that they don't know. We are living in the same country, we're living together, but we don't actually know each other. Exactly. And when you don't understand the language, I remember that when I'm getting into schools and I'm giving lectures and I'm starting to speak in Arabic in the schools, and I'm asking the kids, شو أخباركم كيف أنتوا كل شيء تمام? And I see the kids like, and I'm asking them, what did I just tell you? And they're like, oh, you said that you're going to kill us and murder us all. And I know, how come you got to this conclusion? Because you have a scary language. When kids are always used to hear Arabic in a negative aspect, of course they will be afraid. When I am in Tel Aviv and I'm a well-known figure and I'm sitting in a coffee house in Tel Aviv and I'm picking up the phone and I say, يما شو الأخبار كيف أنت كل شيء تمام? I'm seeing like people in Tel Aviv doing. And this is Tel Aviv. And sometimes I do say Allahu Akbar and I'm not exploding after it. It happens. It happens when you're saying Allahu Akbar and something bad doesn't happen right after. And people are used to these stereotypes. People are used to these things that are happening because they don't understand, they don't know. So yes, when people don't know, they are afraid.
All right.
First of all, thank you for coming and for sharing all your stories and for being so courageous. I admire you. I've learned a lot about you. I feel that I'm a little bit still in the dark about the trends in the Arabic community because, if anything, I was convinced that you're very different and have very different experience. So if you can say a little bit about the Arabic community and the trends, that are there so that you can help us, build the bridge and understand them. Thank you.
Can I blow your bubble? There are no trends in the Arab society. You will find the same people that are sitting next to you right now thinking the same way also in the Arab society. I think that we are so filled with the stereotype that we have in our head that we are not able to look at the person in front of us and to see that we are exactly the same. I'm not different. I'm exactly like you. I think the same. I want to grow up. I want to be successful. I want to live. I want to dance. I want to love. And these are the same things that are happening inside the Israeli Arab society. The only difference is, like I said, is that I have the microphone to yell, to scream, to say. I have a camera to speak to say it out loud. Most of the Israeli Arabs don't have it. I don't think also that they are able to say these things because it's a process. Like some of the things that I'm saying today, some people are telling me, wow, you are our microphone. I don't have the courage that I have right now when I'm 35 today. I don't have the courage that I have today like when I was 25. I was less courageous when I was 25. I was really afraid of what people will say, what people will think, how they will act. And I really, 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 gave a shit about what people are thinking about me. When you're coming from small societies, usually this is what is happening. You are afraid that the son of the daughter of the uncle of the grandma will say this and this and that about you. And you don't want to hurt the honor of your family. I think that today, more and more, people are courageous enough to get out and start speaking out. Somebody very smart told me once, you cannot buy courage in the supermarket. You grow up into it. You grow into it. And I grew up into it. And I think that a little bit and every single step, it's bringing more and more Israeli Arabs to the front. If once you used to see, I was the first Israeli Arab in Israeli TV, now you have 6. And in 2 years, maybe you will have 12. And in 4 years, maybe you will have 20. It's happening, but no trends.
What about people living within the Green Line, referring to themselves as Israeli Arabs versus as Palestinians? Where do those titles, how do they make you feel? What do you think about them? Is there a trend? What does that reflect?
Listen, a lot of Israeli Arabs, when they hear me refer to myself as Israeli, they are very angry. Because how come you're identifying yourself as Israeli? How come you're saying that you're Israeli? You're not Israeli, you're Palestinian. Now, there is this trend right now in Israel that there is this let's say, I don't know, rumor, fashion, to say that there were no such thing as Palestinian people. It's a fiction. It's a story that the Palestinians made up. Now, to these people, I'm saying this. In 1948, a country was founded. The name of the country was Israel. A day before this country was founded, there were people in the country. Now, these people are calling themselves the people of the chairs. For example, the people of the chairs, after 1948, went to, deported to, escaped to places. Some of them to the West Bank, some of them to the Gaza Strip, and some of them stayed. Some of them in Jordan. Now the people of the chairs, the people that stayed here, decided to refer themselves as Palestinians. Who are we? Who am I to decide that they are not? Who am I to say to a person who he is and what he isn't? If somebody sees himself as a Palestinian, why should I say that he is not? If he identifies himself with a story, with a narrative, why should I say that he's not? And it's the same thing that I'm saying to Israeli Arabs that are telling me, you are not Israeli. Who are you to tell me that I'm not Israeli? My story, my narrative is an Israeli one. I didn't live what happened in 48. Nobody from my family lived what happened in 48. We all stayed in our lands. My family specifically. Other families, yes, were deported. Other families has other stories. But when people are coming and telling me, you are not Israeli, stop defining yourself as Israeli, you don't tell me how to define myself, how to identify myself. I feel Israeli. I said this morning. I have Israeli chutzpah. This is me. I'm Israeli. I have an Israeli passport. I'm proud with being Israeli. And yes, I'm also angry about my country and about the way that my country is behaving in certain situations and certain things that it's doing. But it still doesn't make me something else than Israeli. And the person who is saying that he is Palestinian, this is how he feels. This is his identity. And I cannot take it away from him. I cannot take it away from his narrative. This is his narrative. Who am I to argue with it?
And do you view that as a greater trend?
I think that the trend is, again, I cannot call it a trend because, you know, a trend is coming and going. This new trend...
Is it a new reality?
I think it's a new reality where I aspire that there will be a new reality, that people will accept one another without tagging them under titles. You are this, you should be this, you should be this, you should be that. I aspire that this will be the society that I will live in. That it's okay that you are this and I am that, but we still can find the middle. And you don't need to accept me or my narrative or everything that I'm doing 200% without me accepting yours also.
Thank you, Lucia Harish. I appreciate it
you.
very much.